So before I talk to you guys about the pufferfish as well as my Oscars and what's been going on with them, this is absolutely fascinating, I'm going to give you a quick update on what's going on in the new gallery. First and foremost, I got all of the frames done for the 180-gallon stands. Mind you, I still have to wrap them. We still got to put plywood down on top, and I still have to put styrofoam. When I say wrap, that means to cover it in wood and paint it and whatnot. I also got the 375-gallon stand done, and you'll notice that it comes out from this wall. But once this is wrapped and the tank's on top of it, that wall will become invisible. So some people were concerned that this juts out more, but we're not even going to be able to see it once the tank's on top of it. You'll also notice that there's some plants growing on the wall. I wanted to try this. Now, I said I would do a rock wall along this, and I thought, well, I do want to do a rock wall, but wouldn't it look cool if all of this entire wall here were plants? Because I am growing pothos on top of my tanks right now, and I always have for years. And I thought maybe the plants and vines can grow up the side of that and all over the tanks, and they can help remove the nutrients from the water, etc. I think that would look pretty good, and then maybe we'll build a rock wall here. I'm not sure what we're going to do. Again, I'm just testing things and taking my time because I really want to do this just once. I don't want to have to do it several times over, keep changing my mind, etc., etc. So a lot of the times I'm just running. Look how awesome that looks, though. And if I were to cover the whole thing, and that will give it a more planty look. And then when you walk into here, you're going to be walking into the reptile room, which will have a lot of plants and stuff as well. I think it's just going to look absolutely phenomenal. Anyways, we'll come back after I show you what's going on with the puffer as well as the Oscars. You know, one of my favorite parts about the entire aquarium hobby is like how many things are not supposed to work, but they just do. You know, like for example, stingrays can't really be kept with much else because of they'll eat them or attack them, especially like smaller or sensitive fish like discus. But I've done that a number of times, and many people do it now. Or you know, something a little more relatable, like I hear people say all the time, I do a 10% water change once a week, or I do a 10% water change once a month, or I don't do a water change until every 3 months. And it works for me. That you see their tank and you're like, damn, that is working for you. Unfortunately, to find out what's working though, is like you gotta take risks and test things and try things, because a lot of the times, if something doesn't work for like one person or two people or something like that, it spreads like wildfire on the internet. And then nobody's gonna wanna risk it or take that chance or opportunity. Even piranha. A lot of people will say, you know, piranha can't have tank mates. Can't keep piranha with anything. You know, it's commonly seen that these guys swim around with tons of tetras, and to be completely honest, when these guys move to the gallery, they're definitely getting a large school of tetras put in them. Why? They don't view them as a food source. If the piranha is so big and the other fish are so small, or the fish isn't injured or dying or dead, then the piranha wants nothing to do with it. That's that homemade food I made. I just froze it and stuck it to the glass. If I'm walking around the tanks or doing anything out here, I just turn the lights on to film, but so they were all a little bit hiding, but they're starting to taste the food in the water, and they're gonna go at it. I can't wait for the gallery and to surprise people with a tank full of piranhas, and to break the misconception that these guys are, you know, stone blood killers and can't be kept with anything and don't go near them. And meanwhile, they'll have a ton of tetras swimming around with them. We'll do live feedings, etc. And I mean, like, they're there while they eat. I don't mean feeding them live foods. I don't think it's necessary. Because look, they're getting everything they need out of something I made. Anyways, what I'm getting at is this, and I'm going to get you guys to comment in the comment section below what's not supposed to work but is working for you. For example, when it comes to the fahaka pufferfish, we know that this is an ambush predator. We know it spends most of its time in a sedentary position, laying on the substrate. It tends to reserve energy and waits to attack a prey. That's typically what they would do in the wild, but in the home aquarium, they can replicate that, and we think that they can't get along with anything. Why? Well, I've read it a few times, and some people have said, you know, fahaka puffers can't be kept with anything, so don't do it. Okay, so as for the Oscar aquarium, you guys will remember that I built them that corner aquarium. I wanted to build that one for a while, but back in the back of my mind, I always wanted to expand the gallery. I always wanted to make it public, but I couldn't find the perfect place. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to keep moving forward. I can't just not do anything because, you know, I want to do something that's, you know, chase my dreams and whatnot, and I just can't find a location. So I built that corner tank. I launched my podcast. We had everything set up, and then guess what I found? So I knew I was gonna move everything here. But my cats won't leave that tank alone. I don't want to have a bunch of hundreds of gallons of tanks at home that I have to take care of as well when I'm going to be spending the majority of my time here. It seems as though I'm only going to go home to sleep. But as I started tearing that down that tank, it reminded me of what I used to have to do. I wasn't able to keep every aquarium that I ever built because my house is only so big. So previously on my channel, for those that haven't been around for a while, I used to do a big project once a year. And at the end of the year or at 6 months, I'd tear it down so I could do another one because I need room for another tank. And I did that over and over and over again. And throughout the year, we do smaller projects and whatnot. But if you do this in your house for 10 years, eventually you're going to cause a lot of damages to your house. And I really want to stop doing that and building tanks inside my house and stuff. Everything's going to come to this gallery. I'd moved the Oscars to one of the 120s out here in the gallery just temporarily so we can get everything moved, start transitioning, and that sort of thing. And as I move a tank, all the fish in that tank have to be consolidated into another one temporarily until that tank is moved. Then we can take those fish, set it up, etc., etc. Odds are these tanks and almost every tank out here is most likely going to stay running for quite a while. We're not moving fish over that fast. I'm not going to be stressing them out like that. But the fish that isn't supposed to have any tank mates is the fahaka puffer. But I gotta say, Tyrese has never been this active. Typically speaking, he likes to just lay on the ground, back behind that rock, and he minds his business. But as soon as I added in the Oscars, he's out all the time swimming around. Now, I'm going to continue to test this, but if anybody gets hurt, we'll have to make some adjustments. Tyrese would have to go into another aquarium and that sort of thing. You'll notice that the Oscars are in better shape, like a lot better shape than they were, because previously they were fighting and, establishing dominance, and that's, what cichlids do at times, and they can have tattered fins. They can get a little scratched up and get a little beat up and whatnot, but these guys are right now in the best shape of their lives. Kevin's doing absolutely fantastic in his own tank, though. He doesn't want any friends. He doesn't want any tank mates. He's told me several times that I'm enough friend for him. I'm all he wants. He is excited, though, to get a little bit more attention and have some visitors, and, maybe somebody will drop in a clam here and there for him. Who knows? One thing I can say is that this tank is pretty tall to be, feeding. I have to get up on a stand. So I don't spend a lot of time petting him or hand feeding or anything like that, but he's a prime candidate for it. Except if I put my finger in, he might go for it. He might think it's food. Yeah, so I gotta be pretty darn careful not to mess around too much. I am able to kind of, edit that out. I am not able to do that. I touched him earlier. This is going to take some time to get him to trust my hands. One of the things that I do when I try to get a fish to trust me is I'll put my hand in and wiggle it to let them know, hey bro, I'm not food. Please do not bite me. And he's kind of respecting that now. But if you're just putting your finger in, man, that could be a pellet. That could be anything to him. So yeah, this tank right here, even for the time being, these guys are such babies. Look at them all doing it all at the same time. Oh, they think they're like a bunch of tiny little fish. Swimming in succession. This is the tightest knit group of Oscars swimming I've ever seen. This is incredible. Yeah, they're just so much different with Tyrese over there watching them yeah, boy, do as I say. Yeah, this is just a fun and, really incredible tank to watch. If it doesn't work out, and odds are, if these guys continue to kind of act out of character, I most likely will do something else with Tyrese and give him his own tank or something like that. But for the time being, I just kind of wanted to point out the fact that, this is working and it's doing really well. The only differences I'm noticing in the fish is Tyrese is far more active than he's ever been in his life. Are you guys doing laps? The Oscars are sticking together and far more docile than they've ever been, which is really interesting. But other than that, I mean, if I were to show a person this aquarium that had never had fish in their lives, I'd be like, well, these are some Oscar fish, and that's a puffer fish, and they wouldn't think nothing of it. But if I show you guys, you're like, uh-oh, this isn't supposed to work. That fahaka is going to rip these guys apart, or the Oscars are going to go after them, vice versa. Something could potentially go wrong here. But it's not. Everybody else is also doing absolutely fantastic. Besides the saltwater tank, here's something that's happening right now. The anemones are splitting and multiplying faster than I'd like them to. These guys are getting their own tank as well. Oh, these guys are What are you guys doing over there? The anemones go wherever they want. If they don't have optimal flow or lighting or whatever, they will leave the rock they're on and go where it's better. I don't mind them moving. I'm trying to get them all off this centralized rock, so that wave maker was turned down. They're not getting as much flow as they want, so they are moving off the rock onto other rocks, which is perfect. I'll wait till a few more are off this, and then I'll be satisfied. I just don't want them all clumped on the same rock, because in the new tank, I want the whole tank to kind of be filled with anemones and corals. And I mean, the lights just came on, so you're only going to be able to see some things that are, you know, kind of opening up right now. But yeah, I think kids will love this tank. Even like normal people that never get to see something like this in person. We take it for granted. A lot of the things we see in the aquarium hobby, we see it, we've seen it before, we're like desensitized to it. But remember the time you got into the hobby where this stuff was just absolutely encapsulating and fascinating. I'm hoping we can get other people to feel the same. Now, the original reason why I wanted to tear that down so quickly is because I needed a place to put my stingrays as we moved their tank here. Moving their 700-gallon into location is going to take longer than a day. I mean, it's going to take a whole day to drain the tank, move it here, of course, get the fish out. I don't want them being in buckets, so what I decided I was going to do was set up a temporary pool to keep them in, and then I could just transfer them over when it's good and ready. And this, my friends, is my favorite view of the entire gallery, just sitting here. I could just stand here and look over everything and just wait for it to be up and running. And, you know, it's just such an enjoyable area and space to be. I think you guys are going to absolutely love it when we actually get things done. I mean, it doesn't look like a lot is done right now. We built some frames to stands and painted and whatnot, but we've only been in here for 2 weeks. And tanks are arriving next week. We're going to have almost everything. You know, it's going to look night and day within a couple of weeks. Within 1 month, and mind you, I'm doing it all alone for the most part, this place is just going to look absolutely incredible. So I'm not on Patreon or anything like that. All I do here on YouTube is make these videos for you guys, and you guys get to watch them. I obviously have merch like this. This is all stingrays, by the way. It looks like little zigzags. That's some of my merch line. I got my book and stuff like that you can buy, like tangible goods. But some people want a little bit more. They want me on Patreon. I've always refused that. I've never gone on to Patreon, and nothing against it. I just don't feel like I want to send everybody to all these different websites. YouTube launched that membership thing where you become a member of a channel like 3 years ago, and I joined it, and lots of people got in on it, and I thought, if I was to join this channel membership, what would I want out of it? So I've started to revamp it. So I'm just waiting for this to save on YouTube, but I'm going to be doing every Sunday a members only live stream, so you could talk to me. I can answer your questions. I can give you some more information, etc. Lots of stuff like that. Members only videos. I've been putting those out a lot lately, showing you guys everything before everybody else. Photos and status updates, polls, voting, that sort of deal. I'm going to be doing discounted merchandise moving forward, like discounts off this, my book, that sort of thing. And anybody that's been a member for 1 year will not pay admission to come in the gallery. Mind you, this doesn't take away from anything else that we do here on YouTube. I'm still going to be making these videos. It looks like I've been making them every second day. I'd like to move up to daily, but there's just too much. Well, this was like a lot of hands-on work, and you know, it takes all day. You're covered in paint, you're sore, you're tired. You don't really want to be filming and editing all day long as well, but with the hard stuff is like out of the way almost now, I'll be able to move up and start making better videos and more often. So hope you guys enjoy that. If you're not subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you do. If you don't want to miss any of this, if you want to become a member, certainly appreciate it. It goes directly to helping do this.